On July 1, 1997, the Royal Hong Kong Police Force's detective, Inspector Lee, leads a raid at the wharf, in an effort to apprehend the unnamed, anonymous crime lord Juntao. However, only Juntao's right-hand man Sang is found, who uses his guards mercilessly as distractions while he flees in a boat. Although no one was caught, priceless artifacts were found and recovered. As a farewell victory gift to his departing superiors, Chinese Consul Solon Han sends Lee to work for British Police Commander Thomas Griffin in the United States. We are then introduced to Detective Carter, who is a brazen cop with questionable driving skills. He is conducting a sting operation, where he meets with an arms dealer with C4 explosives in the trunk of his car. After an unfortunate coincidence where the police just happen to pass by, Carter is taken hostage, but with good timing, Carter lands a punch and tries to convince the police to leave, to no avail. The arms dealer gets up and shoots the police officers and drives away, but Carter shoots the wheel of his car and then the trunk, causing the C4 to explode. The arms dealer is unharmed and arrested by Detective Carter. Later, when Soo Yung is being taken to school by her two assigned bodyguards, the police direct their car down a quiet road, where there are no other cars or people. A police officer pulls out into the road and stops the car, who is revealed to be Sang. He shoots the two bodyguards but Soo Yung manages to run. However, there is a motorcycle waiting on standby that comes in and takes her, bringing her over to an unmarked white van where she is kidnapped. Soon after, we meet an Agent Russ from the FBI, who tells Han that his daughter has been kidnapped. Determined, Han wants Lee to be assigned on the case because he is one of the best detectives in Hong Kong. However, Agent Russ doesn't want there to be an international incident bringing in foreign police, so he wants someone keep Lee out of the way. However, the chief of the LAPD believes this is a disgraceful assignment, but he then finds a disgraceful police officer who is going to be suspended anyways, Detective Carter. After some tasteful lying about how amazing Carter did blowing up a city block, he is on the case. Carter is very displeased with the assignment. After meeting Lee, and seeing that he isn't speaking English, he becomes irate, yelling at him, complaining to the captain, which they don't take seriously, and making a series of casually racist remarks, such as bringing him to Chinatown and telling him to wait while he finds one of his cousins. However, Lee doesn't take his crap and leaves. After discovering Lee has left on a bus, Carter sprints after him in pursuit, but once again with some sick parkour, Lee once again loses Carter. But when Carter steals a motorcycle at gunpoint, he is finally able to catch up. After a brief altercation with an armed taxi cab driver, Lee reveals that he actually is able to speak English, and the two go to a pool bar where Carter follows a lead on a mysterious Chinese person buying up arms. Meanwhile, Lee, fresh from China and not knowing American customs, says a racial slur. This immediately starts a fight with all the African American people present. When the fight ends with Lee winning, the two leave. When they both arrive at the convenience store, Lee is fed up with Carter wasting his time, but Carter promises that after he gets lunch, they'll go to the consulate. Carter however pulls a fast one, cuffing Lee to the steering wheel. But when Carter comes back, Lee, and the wheel, is nowhere to be found. Lee makes his way to the consulate by taxi. But he is denied entry, and even suspected of being the kidnappers. He however makes quick work of the guards regardless of the wheel still cuffed to his hand. After hopping the wall, he makes his way up to the roof, where he infiltrates the second floor and disarms all the guards guarding Han. When Carter shows up acting all tough as he is, he quickly snatches the ringing phone, which turns out to be Sang, who asked for $50 million in cash in a building downtown. When the FBI track his location, a SWAT team is immediately sent to infiltrate the building. Sensing something is off, Lee immediately suggests that the men be pulled out, but Agent Russ brushes him off. Soon after, a phone rings in the building, and the whole floor is blown up, eliminating the strike team. Lee catches a suspicious figure leaving the scene, who turns out to be Sang, and chases him. After climbing a ladder, Sang engages Lee in a fight, armed with an axe, but when Carter catches up, he bolts. He eventually gets away when Carter and Lee collapse through a wood panel by car, nearly running the two over. Afterwards they head back to the police station, where they interrogate an inmate Clive. Although Carter gets nowhere, Lee gets some information from him with an image of Soo Yung. Apparently, Juntao is in a local Chinese restaurant nearby. After scoping the place out, the two infiltrate the office, Carter posing as a lawyer while Lee as a waiter. Sang and some goons are hanging out, and although Carter offers Sang to fight hand to hand, a firefight occurs, and all the customers run. Lee and Carter fight back for a while but they eventually retreat. The gas stoves in the kitchen eventually blow up while the police arrive, and they all return to the consulate. When the two get back to the consulate, they are berated for ruining the operation. Due to his perceived incompetence, Lee is prepared to go back to Hong Kong. Sang returns another phone call, saying that the ransom is now 70 million, and if it isn't delivered tomorrow, Soo Yung dies. Carter then goes to the airport where Lee is prepared to leave to Hong Kong. He comes up with a plan to delay the plane. He then sits by Lee and tries to convince him to come back, but Lee refuses, as he is disgraced. But when Carter tells him about his father, Lee pauses in thought. As Han is giving a speech at the expo where he is to receive his daughter, he breaks down when talking about children. Thomas then escorts him off and starts to finish his speech, but Carter realizes he saw him at the restaurant earlier. Carter, realizing that the people may be in danger if something happens, creates a distraction, causing everyone to leave. When the coast is clear, Sang jumps out, and Thomas reveals himself to be the mastermind, Juntao. He kidnapped Soo Yung because he was the private collector who owned all the artifacts that Lee recovered. After Carter takes a car from a goon, he then takes the car and runs it through the building, which causes a firefight to happen, causing Sang to flee. Sang starts climbing up to an upper floor, however, Carter catches up with Sang. But seeing that Carter had the jump on him, Sang offers to fight like a man, like Carter did earlier. They both drop their weapons, and both immediately draw their sidearms, with Carter shooting Sang. Afterwards we are giving the iconic line, "Wipe yourself off, man, you dead." Lee and Juntao get into a fight on the Raptors. After Juntao runs out of ammo, Lee runs to grab onto the railing, but Juntao attempts to push him off. After a little bit of struggling, both of them are hanging off the edge, with Lee hanging onto a beam while Juntao hangs onto him. Eventually though, the vest Juntao clutches tears and he falls to his demise. But Lee is saved by a quick-thinking Carter, who breaks his fall with a banner, and himself. Afterwards, Soo Yung and Han are reunited. And Lee makes good with her by returning her necklace. Carter prepares to leave for Hong Kong, but right before he does, Agent Russ offers him a position in the FBI. Carter, however, says he's LAPD, and tells him to stick the badge where the sun don't shine as he leaves. He then sits by Lee, who is surprised to see that Carter knows Chinese. They then prepare to leave for their 15-hour flight, as Lee pulls out some killer dance moves. Thanks people for watching, hit that like and subscribe button or else you will be shipped to Ohio. Later.